This review will contain detailed plot points and spoilers. It is recommended to view this film before listening to this episode. You have been warned.
I want to play a game. That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over.
No tears, please. It's a waste of good suffering.
Fairly learned here.
Welcome to Masters of the Nerdiverse Reviews. This is MOTN Reviews, where we take a look at some of cinema's most shiniest supernovas and some that are not so brightly lit. This underworld cavernous tomb of a podcast can be found on iTunes, Stitcher, Spreaker, SoundCloud, YouTube, iHeartRadio, and Google Play. Spotify, did I say that again? I'm losing my mind. This is the crazy Mike G. And with us on this review is my also host, the human specter himself, Winter Trash Monk the Third.
Hello, everybody. Trash Monk the Third, Trash Monk, Trash Monk, coming at you live. From self-incarceration,
from quarantine.
Yeah.
And the pale horseman himself, Brian from MOTN Reviews. What's going on, Brian?
Hey, how's everybody doing? Thanks for having me.
Hey.
Glad to be back. And Pale Rider.
Riders on the storm. Riders on the storm. Can you imagine it's the end times and you see Brian on the white horse with a taco? Like it's time to party,
dude.
Oh shit!
I was thinking about it.
2.0.
I was thinking about a taco earlier, and I was like, man, you think I could head down to Tito's over there and just get some tacos and wrap those up in the freezer just in case times get hard? You know?
Dude. Okay, this is super random. But, Ryan, I know you're a taco aficionado, Doug.
Mm-hmm.
Would you eat the most perfect taco of the world if you knew for a fact it would give you a nosebleed?
Absolutely.
What type of question is that?
Hesitate that. It's like, all right, you got a 50-50 shot of leaving this planet if you eat this taco. Would you do it? And the answer is yeah, probably.
Yeah, man.
Dude, it's a taco. What am I going to do? Not eat it?
Not eat a taco? You know how much time and effort's been put into the manufacturing of that taco? How much love?
Absolutely none. It's the love, but the time, effort, there was none. That's the point. It's a dang taco. I love them. And really need some.
You know what's also delicious, guys? Blood. Delicious blood. We got ourselves
like some blood tacos.
A blood taco, actually.
Blood sausage tacos actually sound pretty good.
There you go.
Look at Winter's already got it going. You know who eat blood tacos? The main features of this movie we're reviewing today. Actually, we are actually doing a review. We got an early screening from our friends over at Dark Coast Pictures. Shout outs to those mad men and mad women who make...
It's been a while.
Shout out!
Since we've been... And the movie we're talking about today is Blood Hunters, Rise of the Hybrids.
Absolutely.
Directed by Vincent Soberanio. So... definitely excited for this film. It's actually going to be debuting on all platforms: Amazon, Vimeo On Demand, FlixFling, Vudu, Fandango on March 17th. So we're doing an early screening review of this action-packed thriller. And we're going to be talking a bit more in detail about this movie. Before we get really started, I want to give a quick IMDb synopsis to kind of tell you what it's all about. I'm going to do this in my best movie voice, so please bear with me and don't laugh too loud. No, I'm not going to do the voice. An avenging Oswang killer teams up with a hybrid in a team of demon hunters to attack the lair of the most powerful underworld warlords, only to find themselves in a twisted trap in a fight to the death. Cling, cling, swords cling. They fight, we bleed.
We got part of the voice, so I did like it.
I got it towards the end. I kind of dovetailed into it.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's kind of like a transformation, kind of like
Right.
from a human to a vampire. To start normal, and then it just go full, just like that. Dude. That exact
Absolutely.
noise. That exact
Mhm.
noise. So let's do a roundtable of what we thought about this film. Just overall, general, temperature check. Let's start with you, Winner. What are your initial thoughts about this movie?
I enjoyed watching it. There, you're gonna notice a theme with my notes, and what I'm gonna bring up is highlighting a particular culture in the film, highlighting particular folklore, and highlighting martial arts style.
Absolutely, there is a
Yeah.
lot of that in that,
Hmm.
especially with the cultural, I would say, sensibilities of this movie. It's very
Yeah.
refreshing. Brian, what are your initial thoughts about this film?
Dude, I love me a badass martial arts film. That's how I can put it. And the martial arts in this film are top notch. It's real. There's a little bit of Shaolin Kempo. There's Taekwondo. There's some Jiu-Jitsu. I mean, it's a UFC free for all through this thing, and it's a pretty good movie.
Absolutely, same here. I definitely, and Brian is actually our martial arts aficionado as well. So he's definitely going to be helping us guide our hips with making sure we don't say the wrong type of martial art in regards to some of these awesome fight scenes. Uh, my initial thoughts is I really dug it. And from my point of view, I really dug one of the major standouts of this movie to me is its comic book kind of influences. The influence based upon that this movie kind of opens you up to a panel, a kind of a panel narration of what's going on. And I immediately saw that and said, oh, okay, this is not the direction I thought this was going to go in, but it was a super happy direction because it was something that kind of really tweaked my comic book nerd ear as soon as I saw it pop up on screen.
I literally wrote down sick cartoon panels, man.
Absolutely.
Sick cartoon panels, and they immediately sucked you into the atmosphere of what was going on. And also on that note, with the panels, the background story that we got along with the panels in the early openings was very helpful.
Yeah, I like the art. I really like the art.
Right.
They did a lot of world building in there, and that's not always easy to do.
So I did some background because I asked the question. The first question I had was, "Is there a comic book attached to this?"
Mm-hmm.
And as far as my research can go, there is a short film called Blood Hunter that came out before this, and I believe this is kind of like continuing the story, which would make sense because there is some retelling what has happened before in the beginning, or
Absolutely.
that, and it doesn't. It also could not make sense. It just means that they're just putting you right into the story, but also the comic. Because I still had questions about the comic book style, and it's really just paying homage to the writer and director, where it's based on his artwork.
Yeah, absolutely. And
Yeah.
I definitely was looking at that short film, The Blood Hunters.
Yeah.
And that is kind of I would say, origin, the prequel to this film.
Yeah.
Or, if you want to look at it another way, this is a sequel to that. So I guess
That's true.
it really just depends on where you're coming at with this. So me, with no knowledge of the short story, I researched after I watched the film, but coming in it fresh, it really caught you up to exactly where we are in this world, where just correct me if I'm wrong, guys. I want to make sure I'm remembering things correctly. There was an alien invasion that caused a kind of a hybrid mix of humans in the Aswang.
No.
Okay.
The Aswang are, if in Filipino culture, are not aliens. They're kind of, as far as my research can go, they're kind of like a group term for like spirits, demons, vampires, sort of thing.
Oh, okay.
So they, from what I can gather from the story, is like they've always been present, and then they're fighting, and there's like a section 1, which is like the X-Files group that's fighting these things, and then one of the main people, like, he's down and out, and then he injects a swang
DNA into himself,
DNA
or blood.
into himself, and then he becomes evil, like he makes his own army type thing.
And
So
that's
that's
the main
how the
villain.
hybrid. Yeah. I don't think there's aliens involved.
I don't know. I heard the word aliens. I want to say when it was rolling. Maybe I could be absolutely wrong. So I would definitely drink that Asswing blood on my own as well. You know what I mean?
And it's injecting.
Dang it!
Yeah.
It's just like vampires, right? The rule of the vampire is if you drink the blood, if you're bitten, technically you're not turned into a vampire. You just die. But if you ingest the vampire blood, then you contract the vampire curse or virus. Or, exactly, however you want to look at it. And now, guess what? You're a vampire.
Going back to the short film, it should be noted. I mean, there with more of the research, there isn't a clear idea of some of the articles. I believe it's the short film that won a couple of awards back in 2019.
Mm-hmm.
So some of the articles that have been written, they first talk about Blood Hunters, Rise of the Hybrids coming out, and then they go, Blood Hunters won a bunch of these awards, but Blood Hunters is separate from Blood Hunters, Rise of the Hybrids, sort of thing. So the short film Blood Hunter won a couple awards at the 2019 Urban Action Showcase Expo, won 5 of the 6. And let me see if I got the list down right.
Yeah, man.
Best action film, best martial arts, best video effects, best action sequence, and best weapon sequence.
Yeah, the martial arts in this movie it's really, 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 really good. Yeah. And it's very tactile. It doesn't feel, I would say, kind of overly flashy. It feels very grounded. Like the people who were doing the martial arts actually knew how to are martial arts practitioners.
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely. They were not acting like they were martial artists in any way, shape, or form. And along with that tactile, I was thinking, I would love to see this as like a video game. Way just the action style was taken, I could just see that in a combat type of video game.
Absolutely. This movie has that feeling where characters go into like devil triggers, like where they literally with the screen distorts and they get power ups. You know what I mean?
I did not even think about that.
Yeah, the main hybrid, Monty, literally gets a devil trigger. You know what I mean? And punches a dude through a brick wall, which is one of the cooler.
That's fantastic.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And a lot of the actors in this movie do have a background in martial arts. Monsieur Del Rosario,
yep,
Taekwondo champion, Vincent Sabaro,
yep, the director.
Director himself. He has experience. I believe there was another name that I had written down, but I can't find it. But anyways, there's a lot of. If I was gonna let me say this, the film showcase like Taekwondo. Wouldn't you say, Brian?
For sure. Like just even the way the fight scenes were filmed, it was all very close. It was all very
right.
If you were at a Olympic Taekwondo match and you're like front row, that's kind of what you get when you're looking.
Yep.
And they kept it close, and I really appreciated that in the fighting because it really was able to showcase the fighting, especially the weapons. So, like the martial arts were sick. Like
Absolutely.
Arts sick.
And I like that they didn't do a lot of flourishes. You know what I mean? With these action movies, they always want to do big, impractical flourishes on their kicks and their punches. But this movie was doing actual takedowns. And like Brian was saying, like close quarter combat. You know what I mean?
Right.
CQC. And it just made it way more grounded. And even though some of the latter villains did get powers ups, for the most part, the kind of one-on-ones were really hand-to-hand combat.
But that makes sense with the world building and what Winter said about the short story. Like, there's a lot of world building in this short film. And you're going, holy smokes. And it kind of makes sense that these things are, quicker, a little bit faster. And I was really happy with the subtle way they were able to emphasize that.
Absolutely. And my first question that I kind of had watching this movie, you guys help me out, please, is this a post-apocalyptic world? And it's like, I don't think so.
I don't think so.
You know,
I just think it's a different world. I think it's an original world, and that's one of the things that really sucked me in as I was watching it, because I was like, this is a movie, and it's a short movie, but I could see this as like an episode of an ongoing series that you
Right.
watch because of the world building that was happening. So I don't know. I don't know if it was post-apocalyptic or just, hey, this is how things are here.
Yeah, because there were certain scenes where,
it's damaged. That's the word I was going to use.
Right across the forehead, man.
Damaged.
Damaged. There was a scene where I want to say our main character, Gabriella, kind of passes out at a gas station. That gave me that feeling because it was like a dilapidated gas station. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's a post-apocalyptic world. If you drive through any, continental U.S. town or any, town
Correct.
across the world, you're going to find yourself a dilapidated building here and there. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And then you have flashbacks. She has flashbacks of her previous life. I guess we can use it as a segue to go into some of the characters and how I really like that a lot of the characters had fleshed out motivations and kind of motivational closes in this film. And I think Gabriella was one of the more interesting characters as the almost battle-scarred, battle-hungry former cop turned, blood hunter. You know what I mean?
And when I talked about the series, I look at that because you talk about how expansive the backstory of those characters were, and it's like, oh no, I kind of needed more of what I just got here between her, the husband, the kid, the cop. Like, I get it, but I kind of need more.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
that could have been its own episode, in my opinion.
Absolutely. Winner, who would you say is your standout character in this movie, hero or villain?
Well, I like Bolo myself, just because it's the director in his own film. I like that.
Yeah, man.
I think it's very tempting for like writers and directors to make like their character not show like flaws or anything. But he does have flaws in the film. He does get hurt. He does get stabbed at the end.
Right.
He's my favorite.
Yeah, man. I don't know why. I like the villains in this movie. I really like the villains.
Absolutely.
And I think my favorite was Gundra, was the big like African warrior dude.
Dude, I was just looking up his name, Mikhail Turner. Dude, he was epic, and I was like, man, I don't want to fight this dude. He knows he's a badass.
Dude, there were moments where I was watching the movie and I just was like, anime! It was so cool.
Good. Yeah, so good. And that hammer, dude.
That hammer axe, whatever that was.
Man.
Yeah.
He was just
epic.
How are you a tank and you can teleport? That's not fair, man.
Dude, you're a tank. Like in some of the scenes, I don't know how tall he is. I'm not sure, but I'm assuming he has to be like 6'4", 6'5".
He towered over everyone.
Huge. Man. And then he had the huge freaking axe wielding thing. Yeah, no, they did him right.
There was I'm getting a real Goku, Vegeta and Nappa vibe between him and the kind of the faster main villain, Naga. The guy who's footed with the cool kind of spider kind of vein effect on his face with the mouth prosthetic. Mm-hmm. It really reminded me of those old kind of Chinese horror movies, like Ghost, and like how ghosts were represented, like in the Five Deadly Villains or Spiritual Kung Fu. The hopping Chinese ghosts. You know what I mean? Where they have the pale skin with kind of like the kind of their veins are starting to kind of pop through. I really like the creature effects in this movie.
Yes, the makeup, all of that, very, very, very good, very detailed, and probably took a lot of time. They were probably in makeup
for a little while.
for a while.
Right. And we talked about the guy's weapon, and let's spend a moment talking about the weapons in this.
Yes.
Because there's some little tweaks that they're doing that should catch our eye. Like the beginning, one of the first weapons you see is it's kind of like a slingshot type of thing.
That was neat.
Yeah, and that made me have to look up, and it's like, sure enough, it is a slingshot or a Pinoy slingshot or just a Filipino. If you look up these type of things, you'll find, I would say it looks like a traditional type slingshot.
Yeah.
And while I was typing it up, like Google searching images of it, there was like darts with like a little feather on the back, and there was almost an identical dart used at the end of the film for as well. So, I mean,
that's cool.
There's also the daggers being used. There, if you look up a karambit, which are traditional Filipino weapons. I wrote down a couple that I think I saw in the movies.
Do you have the name of Bolos, like sickles, mini sickle things that he was using?
Yeah, so the small daggers were the karambits. Unfortunately, I couldn't find like what were the bigger ones called, like in the Filipino culture. I mean, there was a couple of other weapons like the galak or
the galak.
The barong maybe, but the barong's more. It depends on the region, I guess you're from, but the one that I could confirm like that is definitely a karambit or two karambits.
Super props to the unconventional weapons in this movie. Because, when she pulled out that slingshot, I legit got a Legend of Zelda vibe. And I was like, yeah, let's go. You know what I mean? Pulled it out and it nailed that aswang and it just exploded into like a fireball. You know what I mean? I thought that was pretty neat.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think so. So part of me goes with the way movies are done now, and like they're going to go on like streaming services or like there's a bigger world watching these things. You're essentially opening up like a microscope into the culture or like the world or the area that made this film.
Yep.
So you're going to want to like,
research
show your feathers a little bit.
Absolutely. It was like, remember when Ombak was coming out?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
Over the world.
Yeah. Yeah.
The same vibe. It's a science fiction,
action
horror thriller,
Yeah, and like we've seen it in our United States where it's like shows where like The Sopranos, where not everyone is in that culture, but it's a show that relies heavily on a culture sort of thing. 100%. So fast forward to 2020 and we have Blood Hunters, which we are not in a Filipino culture. I could just speak for myself. I'm not in a Filipino Pinoy culture,
but it's nice to see. It's nice to see that representation and just kind of peek out the cool weapons, and it catches your eye. And one thing I did want to mention about this film is its locales. It had some very beautiful locales. I'm not exactly sure where this was shot. But,
absolutely.
But you can
Downtown
tell.
LA.
Downtown LA. Industrial lights and magic. No, there's a scene where Gabriella is running across like a bridge.
A bridge, yeah.
And that's a real bridge. That's like, that's not a sound stage. At least it looks that
on
well.
Scene.
Right? Like where they find this bridge, man,
on location. That's
on location, dude. Yeah. It reminds me of, remember, like Brian, Mortal Kombat. A lot of that was filmed filmed on locale. You could feel the difference. You know what I mean?
You can feel the difference. It lends to the atmosphere, absolutely, without a doubt. And it, in my opinion, it also keeps the film kind of small.
100%. It keeps it grounded and it keeps it in its own bubble. Like, okay, this is this normal. You know what I mean?
Correct.
And I think it's really cool. Another character I definitely want to dive more into was Monty the Hybrid, kind of his origin story. A little bit. I don't want to give away too many spoilers, but he was kind of like a mirror image of Gabriella, where, they both kind of experienced trauma based upon this world that they live in. Right. And he kind of took things a step further. You know what I mean? He kind of made the Faustian deal and became kind of not necessarily an anti-hero, but kind of like a loner. You know what I mean? And kind of see him blossom out of that as the movie progressed, I think was pretty neat. You know what I mean? Especially his last fight with I want to say Gundra was one of my favorite parts of the movie. Where I was mentioning earlier, kind of he had his Devil Trigger power up, and it gave me such like Wolverine versus Sabretooth vibes. There's this huge guy fighting this little guy, and you know what I mean? Odds are stacked against him, but he overcomes it and wins. I was like, yeah, man, this is pretty deep, dope. And Gundra had kind of like this fur around his neck. It gave me like, it gave me like that fur that Sabretooth has around his neck. So I was all in. I was all in.
And it's huge.
It is huge, and it's like
it's huge.
It super reminded me of that. I was like, okay, I have to mention that for us comic book nerds. That's a reason to watch the movie 100. Just that fight scene. Also, there is a hallway scene. It's very quick, but it's with I want to say Bolo and Gabriella, where they're just kind of eliminating obstacles in their way, and it's like it's a steady shot, and it's like the clearest shot I want to say without any cuts of them doing martial arts, and that just was like, this is the raid.
They did a couple of like flip side kicks that were just like, you know what? You didn't have a lot of room to do that.
You didn't have a lot of room to do that. You didn't have a lot of room to get that right.
Like you're both fighting, and you just did that, and there's like, I don't know, like 4 or 5 feet like width. I don't know. That was pretty impressive.
Impressive, man.
Impressive, yeah.
I can't
Sorry, I was gonna do a different character.
Oh yeah, let's talk about him. Bring him up.
So Ishida, there's a spoiler. I'm not going to spoil it. I just want to talk about in the beginning of the film when we're first introduced to his character. There's a scene where his face is zoomed in to.
Mm-hmm.
And what did you guys think about that?
Oh, that freaked me out. Okay, I know exactly what you're talking about. It's the master of the camp, right?
Yeah, where I can't remember what the exact dialogue was, but it's like, "Why am I here?" And he goes, "Well, that essentially it's for you to find it."
Yeah, he zooms in real fast, like Quentin Tarantino style. Yeah. It's like, it's here to find out. And she gets blown away, freaked out. I'm like, what? That's another like anime.
I was, I like replayed it 3 times, and I was like, what just happened there?
I love it. It's the only time that happens in the movie.
but she did not ask any further questions after.
Right.
Nothing to say to that, man. Nothing to say to that.
Like,
So this is for the Tri-Coast, or this is for the folks who asked us to review this film, and if they can get a question across, because I need this answered. I did a deep dive on this, folks.
This one scene, dude.
Yes. So in my research of what the Swang are, and like there was like a trivia thing to post up, and this could be a spoiler, so you Mike, you can choose whether to put this in or not.
That's fine.
But it is apparently part of the folklore that if you look into the Swang's eyes, everything is like upside down.
Ooh.
And I feel like I did see like her looking at him, but it was like she was coming, her legs was like above looking at, like it was flipped over. So I feel like that could have been a reveal that he is a Swang or something like that. Like that's like revealing that he is not who he says he is at the moment.
He's not who he says he is.
Yeah.
Dude, like Winter, I would have never caught that because I just thought it was a funky moment. I was like, okay, that was awesome and weird. But no, I think he put the a Swang rope-a-dope on her, and she didn't know what happened. So she was just like, okay.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there was a couple of I thought it was the Force, man. Like
the Force,
dude. Like seriously, like after that moment, there was another moment when one of the characters like looked in the corner and one of their weapons, and I swear to God, I thought they were about to put out their hand and grab it just because that dude gave me the Force vibes. Like,
dude,
shut down. Like, I have questions. Right? No, you don't.
Dark Coast, come back to us. Dark Coast, higher up Tri-Coast, come back to it.
Hey, these aren't the Swang you're looking for.
Right, seriously.
Good stuff, man. I love the end boss, the I would say Patient Zero, because he just gives me this Dracula / M. Bison kind of vibe. You know what I mean? I'm a sucker for capes. I love capes. I love impractical. No capes, and there are villains in this movie who rock some pretty dope capes in this movie, dude. They're the teleporters, and let's talk about the visual effects for a second.
Right.
The faster than normal motions and kind of the emphasis on kind of intensity is very kind of comic book anime influenced. Like there's a moment when Gundra roars, you could see the distortion around his face. You know what I mean? Like a sound, like a sonic booms are happening while he's screaming. And when he's teleporting around and kind of slapping people upside the head, like, you can't touch me, dummy. You know, and I just think it's kind of nutty and kind of cool that they took the time to actually make these characters otherworldly in subtle ways. They could have went full Super Saiyan, but they had a deft hand at it and wanted to keep it with the martial arts,
right?
And with the weapons work, because weapons work in this movie, like Winter was saying, is phenomenal. The weapons work is insane, and the martial arts is on par with some of the best martial arts I've seen all year. It was, you know what I mean? It's tactile, it's sharp, and it's quick cuts, and I think that's pretty cool. Lastly, I did want to actually bring up kind of the video game influence that Brian mentioned. I was thinking about this, and I was like, you know, I wanted to say that this kind of had, and I don't want to make too many comparisons, but this kind of had a Mortal Kombat vibe, but I was like, no, it has more like a Killer Instinct vibe. You know what I'm saying? It has the music. I love the music in this movie. I think it fit the action scenes very well. It was not so bloody, but there were scenes of like, we're not messing around, like the opening of the film.
I think the violence, because of the level and expertise of the martial arts, the violence was kind of understated and understood. Also, when a dude with a like 6'7" like big axe, like, you know, brings it down upon your chest, that's kind of visceral.
You're gonna have a Gallagher moment, you know.
Yeah, that didn't end well. Like, I didn't need to see that to know, like, oh yeah.
They linger on that moment too. He takes like 3 or 4 swings.
They linger, and they have a sound effect, and I'm like, oh no, that wasn't needed, bro.
But let it rain. Let it rain. Let it drop. Oh man, what is Winter? Before we close this out, I did want to ask, and what's your takeaway from this movie? What's your lasting impression?
So so this is kind of, I told myself I was not gonna say this, but here we go. It's kind of like a love letter to Filipino martial arts, Filipino taekwondo, Filipino weapons, Filipino folklore, Filipino actors and actresses. This is the type of film that it's kind of like, you show people and go like, this is an example of a Filipino action film. Yeah. And it's also, and it does great with the budget given to them, where it's like they have. So this is the main gist. How long has it been that we've been able to sit down for a film that was under an hour and a half and have like a complete, like a great storyline, great like finish to it? You know what I mean?
World building, depth of characters, each scene kind of matters. Winner, I'm 100%
right.
Yep.
And I was like, oh man, like an hour 12 minutes. This is kind of satisfying.
And it doesn't let you relax. The pace keeps up. It's high octane.
Yeah, super. Yeah. The first 10, 15 is a little slow, but after that, it quickly picks up and just keeps moving after that. I definitely.
I could see the 10 or 15 minutes being slow. That's like they're trying to build the tower, the Jenga tower, like the tower. Yeah. And now it's building the playground, and now we're spending the next 50 minutes watching people playing it.
We'll slow after the sick cutscenes.
Okay, there you go.
Whatever that
the reprieve, you know.
Right.
Yes,
the
you know what I mean.
Moment. Yeah,
right.
Cutscenes are so smart, because imagine if the cutscenes were not there, how much time would have been added to the show, but to the movie. Sorry, and it's so smart to put those in because now you're cutting down on the budget of going. You're still moving the story along.
Absolutely,
it's like the Law and Order secret.
It's an absolute technique that as I was watching, I was like, yeah, people should really start to try and use this.
Because if this thing was like 2.5 hours long, it would have outstayed its welcome.
Like seriously, stop treating us like we can't figure out what a story is if you just tell us. If you give us some sick panels. And you have like an interesting story, an interesting world, we'll care. You don't have to spend, $12 million just to get through the first 15 minutes to keep us interested.
100%. I'm definitely, my lasting thoughts on this thing is that it was an absolute fun ride. The martial arts makes me want to go back and watch old martial arts movies. Makes me want to go back and watch other martial arts movies that aren't necessarily from China or Glorious Nippon, because there are plenty of really great international martial arts movies out there from different countries, from different cultures that need more representation. And I think Blood Hunters definitely scratches that itch for me 100%.
I mean, I'm going to check out some of Sarah Chang's and see if I can find Mikhail Turner. Seriously, man. They got to have some awesome martial arts flicks floating around.
100%. Something, right?
I'm assuming they aren't court flicks, but, I could be wrong.
Please tell me that in the future, Dark Coast come back to us also saying if there's going to be a sequel.
There has to be an Enter the Trilogy. Tri-Coast, Dark Coast Pictures. If there is when the trilogy drops, when the end of the series drops, please contact us here at MOTN. We want to cover it because we need to know. I need to understand what happens.
Would you like to see this continue in a final movie or two, or would you like to see a season or two? Maybe.
I think a season. I think it really would be a season.
I mean, storytelling wise.
Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Storytelling wise, it's always better to space things out.
Always.
Always. I mean, it depends on the world. Okay. It really depends on the world. If you have a very expansive world that has multiple layers, it would be more beneficial to your story to have it in a kind of sequential TV series format. But if you have more of a tightened world where it's kind of a bird's eye view on one person, that can be told in a film or in a series of films. But something like this, where I'm just so curious about what's happening with the rest of the world, different cultures of Aswang, you know what I mean? Different hunter pockets, and you know what I mean? I just want more. It's one of those
especially things, if this is the world and humans are not really,
top of the food chain anymore.
Top of the food chain, and we're dealing with something else. So yeah, I'll give you that.
Absolutely. So, Winter. Let's go ahead and rank this bad boy. So if you had to rate this from 5 slingshots to 0 slingshots, how many slingshots would you rate this?
I would give it. I did not understand. I would give it a 4 darts.
4 darts on the slingshot. Okay.
Yeah.
Bet. Perfect. What's keeping it from a solid 5, my man?
Because I do want, because I want to reserve 5s for things that are for rewatching and grab something else from it. Yeah. I think with a film, I do enjoy that the film is under an hour and a half. It doesn't help with the rewatch aspect. I think we could still talk, or the people are able to talk about it. They should still see it. But it's hard to make the argument of, did you miss something from the previous? But then again, I made the argument when I was talking about Ishida's eyes. So I'm still going to go for 4. Strong.
Sounds
4.
Good to me. All right. Brian, if you had to give it 0 to 5, what would you rate this?
Winter, I'm going to agree with you, and I'm going to contradict myself sometimes, because you can have 2 thoughts at the same time. That's a problem. I give it a 3.9, solid, and the only reason it's not a 4.5 is simply because I love the fact that it was under an hour and a half. Love it. Love it. Do it again. Keep doing it. But it was a lot to fit in under an hour and a half.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And I think that it could have went deeper.
Yeah.
I would have liked to have known more, but I also didn't need 2.5 hours.
100%. And
you know,
right.
3.9.
3.9. I definitely get that. And it kind of sits where I want to rank this bad boy. And I want to rate it kind of dead center. I want to rate it like a 3.5. I want to rate it a 3.5 on my end. Only because, like Winter said, it's a tight movie, and I really appreciate that.
Right.
Especially with action films, you kind of want to know your beginning, middle, end, and you want the action to be the through line to that film. So that makes it excellent. The only things that keep it from a higher score for me is I wish that some of the action scenes lingered just a little bit longer. You know what I mean? Some of them felt a little quick for me, and then there was certain acting that I felt could be a little bit stronger. You know what I mean? There's certain standouts like Gundra, like Gabriella. You know what I mean? Like Monty, but there were certain other scenes and other I would say actors that I felt could have came with just a little bit stronger acting performance. So that's what keeps it for me.
I on the acting note, I would go as far to say that, you know, if I was watching something on CW, I'm not necessarily, you know, getting better. You know what I mean?
Mm.
My own personal flavor of it, but I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah.
But for me, and I think it's all interesting that all three of us like the fact that it was short, but also think certain aspects of it could have been gone into more.
It's like, I don't know, it's the greedy fanboy in me. I want more. I want to know more about this movie. I want to know more about this world.
Yeah, and I think like the world is being built, and there is potential for it to be like a massive thing where they're clearly like taking inspiration from comic book drawings.
Yep.
So there is a possibility of comics coming out that could dive into the lore of this world, which would be awesome.
I'm super going on a Blood Hunters hunt actually for more content because I just need to know, man. Mm-hmm. I super need to know. Any last thoughts?
I would definitely put some of those panels up on the wall in a frame.
100%.
Right.
Yeah, I love that art style.
Without a doubt.
It has that Sin City dark, heavy shadow
that red
with the
and
blood.
Black. Oh man, great!
Set the room. It really ties the room together. That gets the chef's kiss. Any last thoughts, fellas, before we close this bad boy out?
Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure. Glad to be here, and you know, thanks for giving us an awesome film to review.
Oh, such an awesome film, man.
Yes, keep sending us films to review, folks. If there's any other things that you want us to review, everybody in the world. Yeah, just I'll review your Pokemon deck. I'll review the strengths of your Magic deck. Anything.
I'll review your tier master, and I'll review any tiers that you throw our way. If you want to post your tiers on at Nerdiverse, I will critique your tier no matter what the genre, dog. Once again, special thanks to Tri-Coast Pictures, Dark Coast Pictures. You guys rock. Every single movie you sent our way has been amazing. I mean, and this is no different. So I definitely want to give you my heartfelt thank you for giving us this opportunity to review this film and just have it enter our mental zeitgeist. Because chances are later tonight I'm going to be drawing ass wings and making up my own kind of OC character, my original character, Do Not Steal, of Mike G having to survive in this new world. And I'm going to have a boomerang that shoots kind of like blood pellets. That's going to attract them to spaces so I can do my kung fu and beat them up. Anywho.
Do not go to Mike's house tonight, ladies and gentlemen.
No, it's going to be a bad scene. It's a bad scene, guys. I want to absolutely thank Winter Trash Month III and Brian for joining on this episode. This is amazing, guys. Thank you.
No problem.
You were welcome. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So if you like this content, if you want more of this content, if you crave it like blood, you can also visit our website, which is mastersnerdiversecast.com, where we have all of our reviews archived, all of our weekly episodes archived, top 10s, MOTN reads. We have a ton of content for you to absorb if you like the sound of our voices and like our opinions. If you want to support the channel monetarily, you can also do so via our Patreon, which is Patreon.com/MOTN. And if you want to support us non-monetarily, you can always like our content, comment on our episodes, because feedback is important. How are we doing? Yes, no, maybe so. We always want to know. Bars. And lastly, you can subscribe to our channels to stay up to date with all of our outcoming content. I've, of course, been your host, Mike G, and I will always ask you to look towards the skies. Look towards the skis.
Tierno par, eller kulturen par, du lukkar si på det till det eller par, vi det lossar, till la si till mira par, eller lilla turen till mara.